When it comes to marketing, most brands simply lack direction. You see, they're posting, they're running emails, they have ads going. They're constantly busy with marketing initiatives, but so often nothing really seems to move because there's no direction or intention behind it. And if that feels familiar, I want to encourage you that you're not behind, you're not bad at marketing, and you're definitely not alone. You're honestly doing what most brands do, and that is confusing motion with progress. And today, I want to help you understand why so much marketing feels exhausting and just feels like you're on a hamster wheel, and it ultimately isn't as effective as you want it to be. I also wanted to show you how to start building true momentum. And so then instead of just activity, you're actually gaining traction with your marketing initiatives. This is Marketing on Point, and this episode is all about clarity. Welcome to Marketing on Point, the podcast where strategy meets clarity. Every episode, we break down real-world strategies, stories, and impactful tactics to help you grow your brand. Let's dive in. Once you notice it, it becomes obvious. And it's this. Most marketing teams are simply running on a treadmill. There's constant movement, constant output, constant effort, but usually a lot of times you find that there's just no real distance gain. Yes, posts are going live, but it's just going live because it's Tuesday. Emails are going out, but they're going out because it's Thursday. Ads are running, but it's just because there's budget there and that's what you're supposed to do. Yes, everything is technically happening, but so often a lot of this stuff is happening without any clear aim, and so you're not really getting any clear result. You know, Peter Drucker once said that there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should be not done at all. Basically, I feel like that quote perfectly describes modern marketing. We've gotten very good at producing content, at doing stuff. But sometimes what we as marketers and we as brands are not very good at is deciding what content is actually necessary. And, you know, it sometimes just feels like when you're sitting in meetings or you're talking about deliverables, everything feels necessary. It's like everything we need to be doing. But sometimes when everything feels necessary, nothing doesn't feel strategic. Think about it like planning a road trip. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to get in the car and I'm just going to drive, but not really having a destination picked out. You pack up the car, you fill the tank with gas, or I'm an EV driver, so in my case, it's all the way up to 100% on the electricity. But then you just start driving. At first, it feels productive. You're moving, you're checking the boxes, you're doing something. But eventually, you kind of get a little bit frustrated because you start to get tired. And then you just become unsure. And then you start asking the same questions most brands ask after months of marketing. What are we even doing? Why haven't we gotten anywhere yet? The answer, honestly, is very simple. It's very uncomfortable. You can't arrive somewhere you never defined. Marketing without direction feels exactly like that. It's like motion without progress. You know, there's real data behind this too. The guys over at CoSchedule, they found that marketers who document their strategy are 313% more likely to report success than those who don't. And that's not because they're smarter. That's not because they have better tools. It's because clarity removes friction. Clarity gives direction, and direction removes guesswork. Most brands, they skip strategy because it feels slow, but skipping it is exactly what makes everything slower later. You end up revisiting the same conversations, you end up redoing the same campaigns, and you question the same decisions every single quarter. You can see this clearly in how brands and some brands chase trends. You know, 1 week it's, we got to do reels. Everyone's doing reels. Then the next week it's, we got to be doing carousels. They're saying that carousels are working. And then, we need a long form video plan. What's the long form video plan? And then it's memes. Then it's AI generated content. And, the platform changes and suddenly the entire strategy changes with it. That's not adaptation, that is reaction. And in marketing, you don't want to be reactive. But contrast that with brands that compound over time. I like taking Patagonia as a great example. They don't necessarily chase formats. They don't reinvent their message every quarter. They know who they are and who they're for and what they stand for. The tactics evolve, yes, but the direction stays on a very fixed singular destination. And I genuinely feel like that's why most of their marketing builds on itself instead of having to reset every single year or every single quarter. I think another good example is Apple. If you look back on all of their marketing, even from the 80s and through today, their ads look different from decade to decade. Yes, but their core message, it never really changes. It's always creativity, simplicity, human-centered design. They don't necessarily ask, what should we be posting today? Their frame of mind is more that they're asking, how does this reinforce who we are? Most brands, they never get to that second question. Instead, they're constantly asking the most dangerous question in marketing, which is, what should we post today? The better question is, what problem are we trying to solve right now for the people that will purchase and consume our product or listen to our music or ingest this piece of media? Are we trying to build awareness? Are we trying to establish trust? Are we trying to educate the audience? Are we trying to drive conversions? When you don't know the answer to those questions, then everything just becomes noise. It might be very polished noise. It might be well-intentioned noise, but it's still just busy noise nonetheless. HubSpot found that brands with clearly defined goals for each campaign are significantly more likely to see positive ROI. And I don't think that should be surprising. When content has a job, when it has a core function, of course it's going to perform better. When it doesn't, it really is just there filling space. So I want to give you a practical reset that you can actually do today. I want you to pull up your analytics on Instagram or TikTok or even email. Like just pull up the past 30 days of analytics of the content that you've been putting out there from each marketing piece. Look at every post, every email, every ad. One by one, look at all 30 days worth of content and just ask this one single question. What was that piece of content supposed to do? Not what did it look like, not how long did it take, not even whether you liked it personally or not, but what was it supposed to move? What function was it supposed to have? What purpose did it serve? If you can't answer that clearly, then the content wasn't very strategic. It was really just activity like we talked about earlier in this episode. And again, like I started the show off with, that doesn't mean it was bad. That doesn't mean you're doing a bad job. It just means that it wasn't pointed in the right direction. Now I want you to take it one step further. Look at different patterns. Maybe how much of your content was trying to do everything all at once? How much of it was just unclear, even maybe unclear to you? And this is where most brands start to realize that they've been asking their content to just carry too much weight without giving it direction. Momentum doesn't come from doing more. It comes from aligning effort with intent. And when every piece of content knows its job or has a job in the first place, then the system starts working for you instead of draining you. Decisions get easier, planning gets faster, results become clearer. And that's the shift that I hope you make in 2026. That's the shift that I am challenging my team to make in 2026, and even myself to make in 2026. I want us to have less noise and more direction, less guessing, more clarity. And if you're marketing, if it feels busy right now, and I don't want you to panic, Again, it doesn't mean you're behind. It means that you need a better roadmap. And in this next episode, I'm going to actually walk you through how to build a content plan that gives you a little bit more of a roadmap. It will actually hopefully also hold together after, we're in the new year, but after that new year motivation fades, after the resolutions kind of get past you, I want to give you something that actually will last. Not necessarily a plan that looks good in January, collapses in February, but one that is designed to last into this year and beyond. Because the brands that win are the ones who know exactly why they're posting. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to Marketing on Point, and I can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for listening to Marketing on Point. This podcast is all about helping you show up with clarity, connect with the right audience, and build a brand that actually grows. It's brought to you by Wander Creative, your full service partner for strategy, content, and execution that moves people. If this episode helped you think differently, do us a favor, subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a quick review. It helps more people discover the show and build brands that actually make an impact. We'll see you next time.